let's get into some sacred territory for HSPs. As you know, thoroughness is one of our greatest strengths, and we're kind of playing with the idea of getting rid of that. So you may be going, what? You want me to get rid of my greatest strength? You want me to get rid of my thoroughness, my ability to go deep, my ability to produce an output that will wow people because of its thoroughness? And I'm saying, let's look. I'm not saying thoroughness is bad. Of course not. Thoroughness is one of my favorite qualities about myself. I am super thorough in just about everything I do. So I would be lying to tell you that we're going to get rid of thoroughness. But we're looking for balance, because what is telling us that things are not quite 100% is that feeling of stress. And I've noticed this many times in my life. I can experience it these days, actually, because I am inside the rabbit hole working on several big projects all at the same time. And that desire to do it all really well is, it can be overwhelming very quickly. So if I look at one of the things that I like to do, I love to design courses. It's something that I've always enjoyed doing, and I get a lot of joy out of it, and it's something that I put a lot of time into. Now, when I design a course, I like to be very detailed, very thorough. I like to dot all my I's, cross all my T's as much as possible. And one of my main courses is the Work 101 course, which I originally created about 10 years ago. And each lesson has videos, each lesson has a PDF, each lesson has homework. There are 5 days of homework, 5 lessons each week. And then either I or trainers give feedback on participants when they do their homework in our community. And so the structure of that and the overall format has a lot of detail in it. And it's detail-oriented for me as a creator, but also detail-oriented for those who participate. And people get a lot out of it when they put a lot into it. So yeah, at the end of the course, people have spent probably 40 hours of time doing the work and learning about the work. And I do this on purpose because I really want people to have a really strong experience. And I've learned over time what works and what doesn't work. And so, yes, this is a thorough course. Now, the problem comes is I'm now also adding in this whole idea of highly sensitive people into my business. And I'm getting ready to create a stress management course for highly sensitive people. And so what happens in the back of my mind is I start thinking it's got to be super thorough. It's got to be like the Work 101. It's got to have videos, PDFs, homework, feedback, community, everything. And it should all be done beautifully. And oh yeah, let's get that done in, a couple months or something like that. So this is the kind of thing that can make you just go crazy in terms of stress if you're a highly sensitive person. You've got a deadline, more or less, my own deadlines, but I've got some kind of idea to finish this, and to do that really well would really take years to do, just like it did to take the Work 101 from a very beginning course into something that is much more robust the way it is today. So that stress experience tells me, it's like a little alarm saying, hold on, you need to rethink this, because you're just going to burn yourself out without even producing anything because of this desire to be super thorough, to do it really, really well. So this is a common trap for all of us HSPs. It's something we like to do. We're conscientious. We like to do things well. We're not afraid of doing hard things. We're not afraid of doing complex things and doing them really well. It takes a lot of time, it takes a lot of attention and awareness to do those things. And so that's fine with an unlimited time schedule, but life doesn't always give us that. And it's important to start thinking about how, at least for me, how to do the same job in a less thorough way? Like, is there an option that I'm not locked into only doing it in the thorough way? Like, it, is there a way that I can make this doable for myself and still accomplish the same goals, which is to actually provide real value to the people that I serve? The problem comes is that for a lot of us, me included, we take pride in doing things well. We take pride in doing these hard things, these complex things, and coming through with them. And so there's a little bit of an attachment there. And so one thing that can help is to actually question some of those attachments. Like, I need to do well, let's look, why is there attachment first before we question it? Like, who am I trying to please? That's really probably what's going on. Am I trying to look good? Am I trying to do an extraordinary job? Like, why? Is there somebody I'm trying to please? Is it my boss? Is it my clients? Is it my parents? Who is it? Is it myself? And if I can find out who I'm trying to please, often if it's myself, it's usually because I'm still trying to please somebody else. So if you can find out who you're trying to please and then question that you need to please them, you may find that that attachment starts to lessen a little bit and you have a little less need to do it as perfectly. So another question that can help loosen it a little bit and is important to ask, I find, is, does this super full version that I'm planning, is it really going to meet the needs of those I serve? In other words, is all of that necessary? Or if it is, how important it is it? Because my assumption is that everybody wants to go all out. Everyone has unlimited time and everyone wants to just put as much time into it as I would put into it. And that may not necessarily be true. People have limitations in their schedule and there's all kinds of reasons. So just asking that question of, like, is it necessary and what is necessary, can already start beginning to help streamline this idea of what you're trying to produce. My teacher once had a great little phrase. It said that writing is a graphical display in a harmonious way of all those elements that are necessary. And he was talking about writing, the art of writing, which is great. But it applies to doing any kind of project. It's like graphical display, harmonious way, that's kind of poetic, but we're basically putting the main things there that are necessary, of all those elements that are necessary. And in other words, not the elements that are not necessary. And every good writer knows that what you leave out of a story, what you take out in the editing process, is actually more important to making that story read really well than what you leave in, ironically enough. So yeah, this is giving us a little bit of sense that maybe editing a little could be a good thing. One final thing to look at, and that is this doable for me on a balanced routine? And knowing that I'm a highly sensitive person, I need more rest. I need more downtime just to stay balanced. So am I asking myself to do more than like the average person would do when I actually have I have more need for downtime than the average person? So if that's the case, then I have to really rethink, does this really make sense? So how to conscientiously offer less? So there seems to be a real need to rethink a little bit this desire or this need to do everything really, really, really well, especially if there's any kind of time pressure. So how can we actually offer less? Sounds so sacrilegious. How can we conscientiously offer less, while still thinking about meeting the needs of those that you serve, like fully meeting those needs. I'm not talking about, you know, scrimping or cutting in a way that it's going to negatively impact the people you serve. I'm thinking about, is there any way we can streamline it so that it might even serve them better? So as I was thinking about this course that I'm working on, I realized that it doesn't have to be like the Work 101. It doesn't have to be so detailed, so homework intense. There are often more informational things that I'll be delivering, and that in just really a couple sessions a week, I think the whole thing can be delivered very seamlessly and very easily. And maybe one bit of homework a week, or maybe not even any homework a week. Like, this is radical for me, like the homework junkie. So, this is the kind of thinking that I'm going. It's like, okay, would this serve the same purpose? Would it deliver the same impact? Would it still be as valuable if I didn't make all the details? And as I look at it, I think that the answer is yes. And I also know that a course is never a one-time thing. You create it, and then you recreate it, and then you recreate it. There's version after version after version. And so I don't need to come up with the most elaborated version of it in the first iteration. And I think keeping it simple may actually make it more impactful for the people who participate, because they're able to really focus on the main important things, let that settle in, and go deeply with it. Let it almost work in the unconscious for a while, instead of constantly being super active. So if you decide to streamline in some way a project that you're working on, what will you keep and what will you do away with? That's really the question. The mind tends to think it's all or nothing. Either I go all out or I don't do this project at all. But is there a way you can keep the important things and trim away some of the things that are nice but not necessary, or that tend to clutter and distract because there's so many of them? I think it's an exercise in looking at what is the most important thing I'm trying to do here. What is the most important point I'm trying to make, or what is the most important exercise I'm trying to give? What is the essence of what I'm doing? And if you can say what you're doing, or if you can do what you're doing in its essence, then that's a very strong communication skill. And so if you can do it in seed form and then add elaborations to whatever degree you're able to, or whatever the need is, then you're in a really strong place. So why would streamlining your projects be appreciated by people? First of all, people have limited time to consume things. They don't always have the time that you think they would want to have to participate. And so you are doing them a favor if you can give them the short version, if you can give them the main points, the important points, if you can drive home again and again what is most important. People are going to thank you for that. And that goes in a job setting as well, not just in a consumer setting. So also, giving the most important things with emphasis is helpful for clarity. If you have maybe 100 things to present, and they're all thrown out equally, and they're just scattered in this large presentation, it's hard for a participant or a user to know what's the important thing. It's just that everything's equal. But if you remove, say, 90% of those, let's just go extreme, and there's now just 10 things there, then you start getting an idea of, okay, these are much more important And maybe you would go down even further and say, there's only 3 things that are really important here. I want you to come away with these 3 things, and then here it is. Or there's just one thing. And this one thing is really what I'm trying to communicate to you. So this is what streamlining is, and it forces clarity. It forces you to become clear on what is important, and then it forces the end user to become clear naturally following your lead. So streamlining is actually very helpful for the people who are using the end product as much as for you who are creating it, because it means you don't have to create 100 things. You can just create 3 things, or 1 thing, or 10 things. So this forces you to get clear. It also gives something really, really important for highly sensitive people. We love to go deeply into the important things. For us, it's fun to have some kind of deep focus and to really explore one thing thoroughly. So getting back to where we started, thoroughness is not a bad thing as long as there's a focus to it, as long as it's not thorough in 1,000 directions. Thorough in 1,000 directions is stress-provoking. Thorough in one direction is absolutely enjoyable. It's fun. It's what we live for. So if you streamline, you're going to allow yourself to go deeply into the important things and really have the fun of that deep focus that we HSPs love. And then you'll also have energy left over. If you haven't spent it all trying to do too much, you'll have energy left over to deliver the final product, to explain it, to answer questions. And as you know, with any kind of project, if you're open to it, and I think you would be more open to it if you're not trying to do it so perfectly, then you're a little less attached to this perfect project and therefore more open to feedback and iteration. So now you become more of a player with the end user or the boss or whoever it is that you're giving this completed project to. And you can begin to take it to the next step. Like, you're still excited because there's still energy, and you're able to still be interested in the project. But when I try to do something perfectly, I don't want to ever see that project again. I've done it. It's checked off my list. I've put all my energy into it. I've probably burned myself out. And I'm like, if someone asks me one thing to change or give me one little feedback, I'm just like, oh, too much. But if I've only put, 80% of my energy into it, and I've conserved some because I wanted to stay balanced, and then I come back and somebody has some changes, I'm like, oh, great idea. I still have that energy. I still have that enthusiasm to keep going. So these are just a few ideas to get you thinking about how streamlining could actually be not only beneficial to you for your health, for your mental health, but also for those who that you serve. Because when you provide something that is streamlined, you actually are doing them a favor. You're giving them something easier to digest, and you're including them, and you're more open to feedback.